Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this live webinar about mastering containers in Tableau. In this session, I'm going to show you how I completed Workout Wednesday 2020 week 53, which had some very specific requirements around using containers. So first off, this is the final visualization we're going to have to rebuild. You'll see it's got big numbers across the top. It's got 3 different sections for each of the segments, along with their sales, and a simple area chart. We also have a title going across the top. Looks like some divider lines and things like that. So my first glance at this is I'm going to see how many containers I have just by looking at it. So around the very outside is obviously a container. And then I'm going to have some kind of text box here, a line, and then a chart. So that's still one vertical container. And then each of these sections is going to be a container. So it's going to have a text box, a line, a big number, and a line, and then the chart. So this consumer area will be one container, this corporate area another container, home office another container. So that's 1, 2, 3 containers, one around the whole outside, so probably 4 to 5 containers, something like that. So let's take a look at the requirements. And let's see. So there's a bunch of stuff up at the top, but we can ignore that. So the first thing is I like going through, and the first thing I do when I do a Workout Wednesday is just go ahead and build the dashboard size. So they're looking for 1200 by 800. So I'm going to start with go to Tableau Desktop, and I'm going to go ahead and build a new dashboard. And I'm going to delete the phone layout. And I'm going to right click or shift and drag a vertical container into the view. Now the reason I shift and drag is because if I go to the layout tab, you'll see I just have one vertical container. If I double click on vertical container and I go to the layout tab, you'll now see I have tiled and vertical. And then as I add more and more things into this, I'm going to get more and more tiled sheets. So it becomes quite messy. So the first thing I do is I float a sheet on the very outside, a vertical container on that's going to be my container around the whole outside. And then I'm going to go to my layout tab. I need to change my dashboard size first to 1200 by 800. And then this container, I'm going to set the X to 0, the Y to 0, the width to 1200, and the height to 800. All right, so that's that part. Feel free to use as many as you like. The background of the dashboard is a light gray, so F5, F5, F5. Okay, so I'm going to go to the background of the dashboard. So let's dashboard format and F5, F5, F5. I think that's that one. Yep. Okay, so that's that requirement. Notice the title bar is white all the way across. I'm not going to worry about the logo. And then add 5 pixels around the whole outside. Okay, great. So let's stick a text box in there. Well, actually, I'm going to first put a blank inside of my container. That acts as like a holding place for me. And I'm going to bring in a text box as my title. And the title says, what does it say? It just says executive sales. Okay, so executive sales. And I'm going to make it, let's see, it looks like it's probably about 26 point and maybe semi-bold, something like that. Is that about the right color? Let's see, yeah, that looks about right. And now for this one, I need to go to my layout and set the background to white. And if I click off of that, actually, let me put a border around the whole outside. So what is let me see what the requirement is for the borders. Let's see, D4, D4, D4. So the third gray from the top. Okay. So around my whole dashboard, I'm going to put a border that is the third from the top. Okay. So now you can see, I did this, you can see the very outside of the dashboard. And notice on this particular text box here now, it might be a bit hard to see, but there's a light gray border that goes around the outside of it. That's because it has padding built in. And in theirs, you see it goes all the way around without any any gray around the outside. So I'm going to choose this object and I'm going to remove all of this outer padding. And I'm going to give it some inner padding. So maybe let's say like 20 point. And then I think I just need to make it a bit bigger. So let me just bring it down a bit. And that looks pretty close. That's maybe good enough. I'll just drag it up a bit. So that's now our title done. It looks like maybe it should be a slightly darker color. Let's try that. Okay, that looks better. I know it's jumping back and forth a lot, but that's the easiest way for me to kind of work on these things. All right, so the next thing then is to put in this, let's see. Okay, 5 pixels of outer padding. I did 10, that's okay. Yeah, so if we want to do 5, I could do that. That's okay. So 5, what does they say? 5 pixels. Let's see, where is it here? Add 5 pixels of outer padding. Oh, okay, so that's inside of this. So this should actually just be 5. Okay, and now I'm going to bring in that line underneath of that. So this line is going to be, it needs to go all the way across, and it looks like it's probably 3 or 4 pixels. So I know that by default there's 4 pixels top and bottom, and then I want to have 4 pixels of padding top and bottom, and then I want it to be 4 high. So I'm going to make this 12. And in my layout, I need to change the background color. So the let's see, what color is that? So it looks like it's some kind of peachy color. But does it say in here which color that is? Okay, 4 cards, text header. Okay, so I think it's this red. So in the background color, I'm going to just put that color in there. Yeah, that looks good. And again, this one doesn't touch the edges, so I need to remove all of the padding on this. Okay, so there we go. So that's the top 2 bits taken care of. If we look back up here, we've got those 2 bits. Okay, so the next thing we need to do then is to build these text boxes here, or these KPIs. So let me go to a new sheet, and we have, it starts with sales. What objects are in there? We've got sales, profit, quantity, and average discount. Sales, and then profit, quantity, and discount, but we want discount to be an average. Okay, and then my discount, the default number format should be 1% place. All right, so we have our 4 numbers, but I want those going left to right, so I'm going to drag measure names into the columns. But I also need measure names on the text shelf so that I can see both the number and the name of the measure below it. So let's go ahead, and now I can hide that header. And notice how sales is in lowercase, but in the view, they're all in uppercase. So I'm just going to edit the aliases for my measures. So let's see. So average, actually I just need to say discount, I think, because I think it'll default to the word average. Profit, quantity, and sales. And okay. And let me just make that a bit bigger. Average discount. Okay, so it should say average discount. So aliases. Average discount. Okay, and in my text box, I now need to rearrange these. So let's put measure names on the second, and this one should be probably 9, and let's say this one is probably like 24 and semi-bold. All right, and then I need to get rid of my tooltips, and I need to format it to get rid of my borders. So let's get rid of our row dividers, and our column dividers is already none. Okay, so I'm going to call this my KPIs. And I'm going to put that in the dashboard now. So I'm just going to drag it in here. And if I go back to my layout tab, notice I still just have this one container. So that's hopefully you understand why we're using just one box, one container now. Otherwise, I would have multiple tiled options underneath of it. So I'm going to choose Fit Entire View for this, and then hide the title. And in this sheet, so okay, it looks like a pretty big box. So I'm going to just look at something real quick. So if I go to, let's see here. So let's see. So I need to first off set the background of that. Okay, so that's white. And then I want to have, it looks like the requirements are to have 10 pixels of padding. So each card has 10 pixels of padding. Okay, so I need to add 10 on the outside and 10 on the inside. And I'm going to set the background to white. And the height of this, I'm going to make it, let's make it like, edit height. Let's make it like 125. And I need to go back to the sheet and align these center and center. And then we should have a light gray border around this. So my border is going to be, I think he said the third gray, if that's right. Okay, the background is light gray, and then each card has a solid thin gray. Okay, great. So that's that part done. And by the way, if you have any questions along the way, feel free to post them in the chat, and I will do my best to answer them along the way. So we've completed the title, the line, the divider line, and this this chart here. It looks like my color black. Let's see. So sales needs to be in dollars, and profit needs to be in dollars. So I need to fix that. So sales and profit, those both need to be with the dollar sign. And then the text looks like it needs to be a slightly lighter color. Maybe that gray. Let's try that. Okay, how's that look? Okay, that looks pretty good. All right. I don't like how my executive sales doesn't line up here, so I'm actually going to add in a bit of padding just on the left side. So maybe if I make this 25, you'll see it just shifts that in just on the left side. So I like the look of that a bit better. Okay, so now we need to build these sections here. So these are all going to be text boxes, and then we're going to have each of these is a sheet, and each of these line charts is a sheet. And it looks like all of these 3 sheets are aligned the same way as well. You could say they all have the same scale. So I'm going to go back over to my dashboard, and I still have this blank object here. And I'm going to need a container that goes left to right to hold each of these 3 objects, and then 3 containers within that are going to hold the top to bottom objects. So I think this might help if I put a bit of, I'll try to put some different colored borders around it so you can see how the containers will work. So I'm going to bring in a horizontal container and then move my blank object inside of that. And then I'm going to need a vertical container. So this is going to be the first one. And the color for this one is that teal. So what I'll do is, instead of having this light gray outline around the outside, I'll put the teal outline. So let me grab that color. And on this container, I'm just going to set the border to be the teal. Okay. That way you can see what this is doing. And my blank is still there, but that's okay. And this one should have, all of them need to have 10 and 10. Okay. And inside of this box now, we're going to have a text box. And this is going to say consumer. And it's going to be teal. And it's going to be 20 point and Tableau semi-bold. Okay, so that's going to be our consumer box. And let's see, and this container needs to actually have a white background. Okay, and then this consumer is going to be about 70, probably 65, 70, 75 pixels high. Let's go with 70. So we've got that consumer sheet here. And then we need to put a line in. Now this line, where's this line? A color divider line 3 pixels tall with 10 pixels of padding on both ends. Okay, so let's bring in a blank object. It needs to be 3 pixels tall. So 3 pixels tall, that means 4 plus 4 plus 3 is 11. And I'm going to change the layout. I'm going to set the top to 0. The bottom to 0 because I want the overall height to be 3, and then 10 on the left and 10 on the right, and set the background to be teal. So now if I edit the height of this, you'll see it now says 3 because I got rid of the 4 at the top and the 4 at the bottom. Okay. When I move the cursor on the template, each KPI seems to have a box for each. In yours, 4 KPIs look to be in one box. Have I missed something? Yeah, I've done it all in one sheet, but you can see as I hover over them, this is one sheet. There's no need to do 4 sheets here. Okay, EK, is the main vertical container essentially floating? Correct, yes, you've got one floating container around the outside, and everything inside of that is tiled. That gets rid of that tiled object though, so it's kind of a sort of like a mixed use case. Okay, so yeah, so these are all one sheet even though you hover over them and they look like 4 boxes. If I go back to the original, you can see it's the same thing here. So I think that's what you mean. Okay, so we've got that box, and now we need to create our sheet. So this is going to be just a number for sales. So let's put segment on filter and consumer, and we're going to put sales on the text, and then we need to have sales. I'm just going to manually type the word sales in there. Okay, and then sales, and let's see. So that is. So this one is going to be probably that same gray we've been using. And this one is going to be maybe 24 point. Let's go semi-bold and the peach color. Okay, there we go. And then I want to center line and center line. So this is going to be my segment sales. Okay, it helps if I could spell. And there should be no tooltip on here either, so I need to get rid of my tooltip. Okay, now I can just duplicate that now. And, oh sorry, this should be consumer sales. And this one will be, let's see, this one will be corporate sales. Okay, and the color on this one is going to be, let's see, so the color here is going to be that bluish color, so that's that color. Okay. And then the third one is going to be home office sales. So I like to build one sheet and then just duplicate it, get one of them correct and then duplicate it. It makes it a bit quicker. Okay, and then this one, the text color needs to be I think it's the purplish color. Yeah. So it's going to be this purple. Okay, so we've got those 3 done. And then we need to build the line charts or the area charts. So the requirement for the area chart is area chart showing quarterly sales for the columns, so for the segment. Okay, so again, I'm going to put segment onto the filters and choose consumer. And let's call this quarter segment. I want to do quarterly sales, so I'm going to right-click and drag order. Oops, right-click and drag order date to the columns and pick continuous quarters. Sales on the rows, and then I'm going to duplicate sales. I'm going to make the first one an area chart, and the second one a line chart. And then dual axis and synchronize. I need to get rid of the title over here. Okay, and the color for these is going to be that greenish color. This is for consumer. All right, and looks like we have no, all of these are scaled the same. It looks like consumer is the highest one, so I'm going to edit my axis, and it's going to go from 0. I'll just make this 130K. Get rid of the title. See, there's no title here. And then my tick marks go from 0 to 50 to 100K. So in my tick marks, I'm going to do fixed, 0, and then my tick interval is going to be every 50K. Okay, and you see the formatting. We're going to change the number formatting for that as well. So let's see. And then the quarters, those all look okay. Let's see. Okay, so we want to format. And we want these to be number, and then in the thousands, and a $sign at the beginning. And now we hover over, we can see the same numbers. Our tooltip here is looks like a big number plus, the quarter, and then a small number for the thousands. So let's go to the tooltip, and let's put our quarter. And then this is going to be, looks like, so this is probably about like, I don't know, 12 point, maybe, yeah, probably 12. And let's see what that looks like. So those look like they're bold. Okay, that's fine. So let's go here and let's make this semi-bold. And there we go. Okay, is that font big enough? Maybe one font larger. Let's see, tooltip, and 14. Okay, that looks good. So I need to hide the axis on the right-hand side, and I need to hide the title at the bottom. And what other formatting do I need to do here? So it doesn't have any, it looks like it only has grid lines at 150. It doesn't have one at 0. And there's no axis rulers. Okay, so I want to format, and I want to get rid of, let's see, so grid lines. Okay, so that looks okay. Are they the right? Yeah, they look like they're about the right color. And then I'm going to get rid of my row dividers and get rid of my column dividers. There we go. And then get rid of my 0 line. All right, I think I am pretty good there. Let's see. So yeah, that should be okay. So that's the other chart done, and now I can just duplicate. So this would be, so this should be actually the quarter. Consumer quarter. This one is going to be, what's the second one? Shoot, I forget the second one. You change the filter to corporate, and then change the color to the blue. And then duplicate again. And this would be home office quarter. And this one, the color is going to be purple. Okay, so I've got all of my sheets built. Go back to my dashboard. And okay, so inside of consumer, I have my line. And let me go back over to the original. We have, let's see, we have this gray line, and then we have the chart. Okay, so let's put our next gray line in, or no, we need to put our consumer sales in there. And then I'm going to make this fit entire view. Oops. And that's okay. So let me just drag this over a bit for now. Hide the title. And the, let's see, so the height I want for this is about, so I'm going to say the height is about, let's say, I've done this one already, so I kind of know what the, okay, now see, notice how the green line moved below the big number. So I can, over here on my, this is where it's easier in the item hierarchy. So I'm just going to choose my blank object, and then I can just drag it above, and there we go. So now I'm going to bring in another blank, and this one is going to be that gray line, and I think there's some different requirements for this one. Okay, a gray line divider, 2 pixels tall with 30 pixels on either end. Okay, so 2 pixels tall, so that'd be 8, 8, and 2 is 10. And then the color background is going to be, I think that's the right color. Yep. And we want to do, let's see, so we want to do 0 at the top, and then 30 on the left, 30 on the right, and 0 at the bottom. Is that right? So 30, where is it? 30 pixels on both ends. Okay, and now we can drag in our consumer line chart. And let's see, so the gray line got moved again. So I'm going to go to my layout tab and grab that gray one and move it up. And then hide the title here. And something happened here, so edit height. Let's see, so, oh no, this one should be, so this one should be about 160. And this one should be edit height, so about 280. Okay, there we go. So we have that first card done now. And I have a blank object in here. Okay, any other, let me just look at your questions real quick. Let's see. Christina says, I really wish we could have the ability to copy paste objects like blanks. I completely agree. Would there be any major difference if I'm using a tiled container than vertical as shown in the layout pane? You could do all of this with a tiled on the very outside. The only issue with that is you're going to end up with a giant mess. So let me see if I can show you somehow. So if I start by just dragging in a text object, I'll just put title in here. Doesn't really matter what it is. And then I bring in maybe my KPIs below that. And then I want to bring in maybe a, a horizontal container below that. And I'm going to put a blank in there and then another, oops, what happened there? Undo. And then I want to bring a vertical container in here and put my, I know I'm doing this quickly, but I'm going to put my, maybe that in there and consumer in here. This is just for demonstration purposes. If I go over to my layout tab now, I have tiled, and then right now it's actually not too bad of a mess. But yeah, you could have it on the outside. I just choose not to because sometimes you'll end up with tiled inside of tiled inside of tiled, and it gets to be a real pain. So yeah, I would recommend against using tiled on the outside. Now, if you just put that one object around the outside of the whole, that one floating container around the outside of the whole thing, then there's no need for that tiled, and it's much easier for people to maintain. So let me delete that sheet. Okay, hopefully that answered your question. Okay, to revisit the outermost floating object, you said it was a mixed case. What's its advantage? Yeah, so yeah, hopefully I just explained that as well, PVP, Excel. Hopefully I explained it. Could you put segment onto color and set the colors for each segment? I could, yes. I think I did that when I first built this. I didn't think about it this time, but I could put the segments on color. That's correct. No need to change the filter on the home sales chart. Oh, did I forget that? Home office, consumer, corporate. Oh, thank you. This should be home office. Okay, what do you mean? I'm not sure what that means. Now would be nice. Oh, what do I mean by 8 and 2? Yeah, so when I drag, let me just show you, when I drag a blank object in a view, and let's say I want to edit the height of it, or edit the width, it doesn't really matter. See, it says 425, and if I hit OK, when I go over to the Layout tab, and I look at the width, it has 4 padding around the outside. So it's really, so the inside of the object is really 425 minus 4 for the left and minus 4 for the right. So I'm not sure if that explains it. So if I want this to be, let's say, a width of 20, I would need to, let's see, if I want the part that I can see, let's say I want a 20 wide block in there, whatever background shading. I would need this to be 20 plus the 4 for the left plus the 4 for the right. So I'd need that to be 28. And let me just put a background color in there so that you can see. So now I have the yellow part is 20 pixels wide. So hopefully that answered your question. Okay. Okay. Could you do? It would be nice if you could duplicate the container and fill it with other sheets. I agree. Okay. Okay. I think that's it. So we have, right, so I still have this blank here, and this is here to serve as kind of a placeholder to make it easier for me to drop another vertical container in. So I usually put it to the right of the blank object. That way you see what happened here. It shrunk down my first container. So at this point, I'm going to just double click the grabber at the top, and I'm going to distribute my contents evenly. And now you can see my consumer is the perfect size. So I'll put my, let's see, so I'm going to do my, let's see, which one's next? I'll put the home office on the right. So that outside, again, the border for this, I'm going to make I think it's the purple. And I'm going to do the same thing like I did here. So I'm going to drag in a text box. I'm actually done is just copy this one, put a text box in here, and I'm going to call it home office, and change the color. Okay, and then this container, I forgot to set the background of it to white. And this one should be 70 pixels high. So again, I need to choose, so if I want it to be 7, so if I say 70 here, oh, and then this whole container needs to have 10 on the inside and 10 on the outside, 10 on the inside. There we go. So now they line up nice and neat. Okay, let's put our blank in here again. So we need another blank. This is going to be our little purple box. And the requirements for this purple box, or sorry, for that color, so that should be 3 pixels tall with 10 on either end. So let me show you again what I mean by the size of the box. So I need to be 3 pixels tall. I know if I go to my layout tab, I already have on my outer padding, I have 4 at the top and 4 at the bottom. But I want the part that I see to be 3. So I need to do 4 plus 4 plus 3. So I'm going to edit the height of this to 11. And now if I set the background of that to our purple, I can now go to change my padding. So I'm going to set the top to 0, the left to 30, oops, the right to 30, and the bottom to 0. And now if I edit the height of this box, you'll see it's 3 pixels. So there we go. So it kind of gets us back for that. And I edited this wrong, so this should be 10 on either side, not 30. So this should be 10 and 10. Okay, let's move on now to the, let's see, what was next, our sheet. So let's hide the title, and I have this fit entire view. So this is, how tall is that? 160. So edit height, 160, and let's set it to fit entire view. And then I have a line. So again, I'm going to put another blank object in here. This pixel, or sorry, that gray line needs to be 2 pixels high. So I'm going to edit the height, and I know I have 4 at the top and 4 at the bottom, and then I need it to be 2 pixels high. So that's 4 plus 4 plus 2 is 10. And now I'm going to edit the height, or sorry, put the background of that. I think it was this color. Yep. And for this one, I want 0 at the top, 30 at the left, 30 at the right, and 0 at the bottom. And then lastly, I want to put in my chart. So my chart goes in here, hide the title. And yeah, so let's see. So what's happening here with my container? Let's see. So here you see I've got this extra little blob in here. So let's see. So okay. So I did something a bit wrong. Okay, I know what it is. I can fix that in a minute. I'm going to actually just set that to fill up the space for now. And I'll come back to that. So that's home office done. And lastly, I want to drag in my vertical container for the, let's see, what's the middle one? Corporate. So I'm going to bring in my text box and paste that in. This would be corporate. That's in blue. Okay, and again, this needs to have a background of white and a border. I'm going to make the border this time blue, just so again, so we can see them differently. And then the padding should be 10 on the outside and 10 on the inside. Okay, this box is 70 high. And I'm going to bring in my blank object. And this is going to have a background of, let's see, this is going to be a background of blue. And it needs to be 3 pixels high. And so, yeah, let me show you another example. So right now it's 48. If I type 3 in here and I say I want it to be 3 pixels high and I hit OK, I'm going to get this error message because the height must be greater than the total top and bottom margins. So my top margin was 4 pixels. My bottom margin was 4 pixels. So that means it has to be at least 9. So in our case, we want it to be 2 pixels high. So I'm going to do 4 plus 4 plus 2 is 10. And I need to set the top to 0, the left to 30, the right to 30, and the bottom to 0. Oh, sorry, there should be 10 on the left and 10 on the right. I did that last time. I'm going to bring in my corporate sales sheet, hide the title, and the height for this one is what? 160. And fit entire view. Let's bring in our line, or sorry, our blank. We're going to set the height of this one to be, this should be 2 pixels, so 10. We're going to set the background to be gray. And this one we need to have 0 at the top, 30 left, 30 right, 0 bottom. And then lastly, I'm going to bring in my sales sheet and just hide the title. I'm done with this blank now. That was my placeholder, so I can get rid of that. And now my sheets are split up nice and neat. So let's compare this to the original. And you can see we have a pretty similar view. The only difference is I've color-coded the outsides of these containers. So I'll go ahead and fix that. So let's go to this container, and I'm going to set the border to be that gray. Go to the next container, make that gray. And go to the third container and make this gray. Okay, so I'm going to drag this over a bit so we can see a bit better. So if I look in my item hierarchy here, you can see it's nice and clean and it's really easy to understand. So I have got one around the outside, and that has a text box, a line, a chart, and then a series of, and then another section that has a series of containers. So it really only has 4 objects inside of it. And then each of these containers has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 objects inside of it, and they're all very consistent. So this is very easy for people to to debug, or it's just a lot cleaner to look at than having to drill down through all of those individual, when you have all those tiled objects in there. Okay, and then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a text box in the very bottom, and I'm going to make it 8 point. And I like to do, let's see, so what is the, okay, so bold challenge by Brad Varner. And this would be, how do they say this? And then solution by Andy Kriebel. Okay, now I'm going to end up actually not using that, but and this container at the bottom, let's see, what kind of padding do I need on this one? I'm looking at my solution here. So this one also, we need to have 10 pixels around the whole thing. So let's just do 10. Okay, and there we have it. So that's how we use containers to fill this up. I've used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 containers. If I was going to include the image, I would just need another container that goes left to right. So for example, if I'll just go ahead and do it. I'll put a horizontal container in, maybe just there. And I'm going to drag that sheet into it. And I'm going to just put an image next to that. And I'm going to choose an image. Okay, so let's choose, let's say logo. Let's see if I can find one here. Maybe I'll just put my logo in there. Let's see what that looks like. It's been so long. I think I need a new logo. So if you have any ideas for a logo, that would be great. Oh, that's a terrible logo. So fit image, center image, and then I'm going to just drag this over. And then the height of this section was what? So this whole section is 75. Cell layout, and then edit height 75. Okay, and then I could just keep bringing this over till it's the size I like, and I would probably set the background to be white on the container as well. So we get something like that. And I probably should add some padding around this as well. Okay, good enough. So that would be how you would bring in the sixth container that you're talking about. Okay, so let me flip over to some of your questions. Okay, all right, could you put segment color? Yes. Okay, sorry, I'm just reading through your questions. Does the height width remain for the dashboard the same when we upload to workbook to server? Yes, so one of the benefits of everything will stay the same size, yes, because I fixed the height on these. You see I have this little pin here, and that means that will stay the same size. So if I change the size of the dashboard, for example, because I have that floating object around the outside of the whole dashboard, if I change the size of the dashboard, notice how everything resizes with it, right? Okay, now when I adjusted the height, notice how like this consumer box and this sales sheet, those don't change. That's because I have that pinned. So as I adjust the size, the height of the dashboard, those aren't going to change. But as I adjust the width, everything's going to change because I don't have anything set to fix width. Okay, so 800. Okay, what other questions here? In the dashboard tab, you can set how the size behaves, fixed, range, or automatic. If it's fixed, it would stay the same. Yep. Maybe not decision. Can you explain and show how to make sheets change in one container? Do not need to explain about. I don't know what that means. So Vasil, you'll need to rephrase your question. How would you add the logo at the top left? Okay, did that. All right, so that's it. So in less than 45 minutes, we've built the entire dashboard. I will post a link in the description to this this video to the one that I created. I'm not going to bother publishing this one because I already have the solution. Are there any final questions before we call it a day? Okay, I'll give you just a second. Okay, I take that as a no. So again, yeah, thank you for attending this session. Hopefully you learned a bit more about containers and how you can master containers in Tableau. You should all now be able to complete this Workout Wednesday, week 53. Feel free to watch this video again and pause it along the way and follow the steps. And if I talk too fast, sorry about that. And yeah, so Greg said, please show containers. I'm not sure which containers you mean. But yeah, what I'd recommend if you want to learn how to do containers is to watch this video back again and create them along with it. So I guess that's it. Everybody have a great day. I appreciate you attending. Bye.